Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. Congress continues to raise questions on Union Home Minister Amit Shah's silence on the police crackdown on CJP's protest, that is the Cockroach Janata Party's protest. Now, speaking in the upper house, after the anti-paper league bill was tabled today in Rajya Sabha, leader of the opposition Mallikarjun Kharge sought answers from Shah and Prime Minister Modi over their absence from the parliament session. Kharge said, and I'm quoting him what exactly he said, that you are the home minister. This was happening in Delhi. And yet, despite all this happening, you did not open your mouth. Has someone stitched your mouth shut? This is what Mallikarjun Kharge said. And after this, the BJP leaders in the House, including JP Nadda, they raised their objections and flagged the statement as unparliamentary. Now, Mallikarjun Kharge also then goes on to say, and again I'm quoting him, that they are firing pellet guns at children who have come from villages and from other states. One has lost an eye, another has lost an ear, someone else has lost a hand. Who is responsible for that? Home Minister is responsible. You may be listening to me from behind closed doors, but you cannot remain hidden in a closed room forever. One day we will drag you out. And then he says that his remarks are not parliamentary. And then he goes on to clarify and he says, I did not use any unparliamentary language. By us, I meant Jan Shakti, that is the power of the people. This is what Mallikarjun Kharge clarifies, that I meant by us, it includes people, students, and women. And I did not say I will drag the home minister. I meant that Jan Shakti will drag him out. This is what he said, and he was addressing this to Amit Shah, that listen to me and then reply. Now, earlier in the day also, Rahul Gandhi also had put out a tweet. Let's show that tweet, which was put out by Rahul Gandhi somewhere around between 12 and 1. There was one tweet which we can play it out. Yes, this was a 12:22 p.m. tweet which Rahul Gandhi had put out, that why is Amit Shah so scared of coming to parliament and explaining the brutal violence against students? It reeks of guilt. And earlier in the day, after the floor coordination meeting of the India Alliance members, there was sloganeering and protest outside the Makar Dwar of Parliament. I would like to show you the visuals if they are ready, and if you could play that out, Bharani, if you're there backstage. Can we have those visuals of the protest? So Modi Shah Sadan mein aao, which is what the India Alliance leaders are saying, that why is Amit Shah, including Prime Minister Modi, why are they evading the parliament? In their slogans, they are trying to say that please Amit Shah come to the house, and they are saying that they both Union Home Minister and Prime Minister Modi, they are evading the parliament. They say it in very clear words. I already showed you the tweet put out by Rahul Gandhi. But in the meanwhile, today, Supreme Court said that police regulations allow the use of pellet guns in exceptional circumstances, and without challenging the validity of those regulations, the reliefs might be barred. Now, this was a petition put out by former IPS officer Yashovardhan Azad, who was seeking a blanket ban on the pellet guns, to which Supreme Court responded. In fact, Rinda Grover, who was the lawyer, she then submitted that as regards the petitioners, metallic pellets were used and they were recovered from their bodies. And she goes on to say, and she clarifies to the bench, to Justice Joy Malia Bagchi, that I'm not saying pellet guns should not be in the armory of the Rapid Action Force or not. Here it is different. They have used metallic pellets. This is what Rinda Grover had to say. And then Justice Bagchi interrupted her again, saying that the first relief sought in the petition seeking the ban on the use of pellet guns to disperse civilian gatherings will be vague unless the regulations are challenged. Justice Bagchi said that the court was not averse to examining the use of pellets in a particular incident, but the petitioners must show if it was permissible under a graded approach. Now, the big question is, on one side is the legal aspect of it. The petitions have already been filed in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is hearing the matter. You can see on your screen Rinda Grover speaking there. Can we put out this bite? If you can just
AF
listen to what she
in
said.
this regard will have these registers. Those must be preserved so that they, at the time of inquiry, they can be considered. And this is also to ensure that in future, people will in this country exercise their freedoms and they as citizens. This cannot be the response. This is excessive, this is disproportionate, and this should be ruled out of the book manual which permits use of force.
So it was Brinda Grover speaking there at that petition which was filed by Yashovardhan Azad. Now, the big question on one side, I said that there is a legal aspect as to who ordered the firing of the pellet gun. Also, there is a general scenario where the police crackdown is being questioned. Who ordered that kind of a crackdown? There were instances where pellet guns were used. There was an instance in Bihar where AK-47 was seen used by the police personnel. And the other part is the politics, that why is Amit Shah and why are Prime Minister Modi evading the parliament? And the continued absence of Amit Shah remains a big story. Yesterday also, Rahul Gandhi had held a press conference after the speech which he made on the anti-paper league bill. And he talked about the three categories of people: the students, the andhabaks, and the idiots. This is what he said. And there was a huge halabaloo. The speaker, Om Birla, had to say that these remarks will not be taken on record. They are unparliamentary words. And after which the BJP leaders then went on to say that Rahul Gandhi should apologize because he, in very clear terms, said that it was Amit Shah who ordered the firing of the pellet guns, to which Kiran Rijiju, Rajnath Singh, all of them said that you can't make these allegations without any unsubstantiated proof. Rahul Gandhi then later on held a press conference and he very categorically said that there's no question of apologizing. And he said that, and he also spoke at length about the rot in the education system, and he ensured that the spotlight remains on Amit Shah. He said Amit Shah will have to go. In fact, one of the reporters during the press conference also asked Rahul Gandhi, to what extent will you take this battle ahead? He said, I will take it ahead as much as I can to its maximum limit. This is what Rahul Gandhi said yesterday. So now coming back to the main question, are Amit Shah and Prime Minister Modi actually coming to the parliament? Why are they evading? Why are they silent? When will they break their silence? And the big question, can Congress really force Amit Shah now to reply the opposition on the police crackdown and the CJP protest? Joining me this evening is ex-ADG BSF Sanjeev Sood. So thank you so much for joining. We have Sanjay Kapoor, senior journalist and political commentator. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for joining. We have Puneet Nicholas Yadav, political editor of The Federal. And let me begin with Puneet. Puneet has been following the parliament. Puneet, the kind of heat which the opposition has maintained, and specifically Congress, because Rahul Gandhi held a press conference, he continues to tweet, ask those questions, then why is Amit Shah scared? Like the tweet which he put out this afternoon. Do you think that Congress really can force Amit Shah to reply?
Well, they can certainly keep trying, and that's definitely their job to seek accountability from the government. The first week of Parliament of the monsoon session was completely washed out. This protest happened on the very first day of the session, and from the 20th of July onwards, the proceedings were completely washed out till this Monday. It's only on Tuesday that the proceedings sort of got back on track with this bill that was, drafted in a hurry with perhaps in 2 days or 3 days time, and without any public consultations, without any, consultations with the opposition parties. It just came as a damage control thing that, okay, we need to do something, let's bring one bill. And this is a bill to amend a bill that was passed just 2 years ago to, prevent unfair means, as it says, in public examinations. And in these 2 years, the 2024 bill has been completely ineffective. I don't know whether the 2026 bill is going to be any more effective than its 2024 version. You can increase the punishments, you can increase the penalties and all of that and set up fast track courts and stuff. But the basic thing is, it's with the introduction of this bill that you've seen some kind of discussion return to Parliament. And the Home Minister, the Prime Minister, even the Education Minister, the new one, and the one who's been, who was forced to step down, none of them have spoken on what is going on. The public examinations bill, the discussion in Lok Sabha went on for 2 days. The Education Minister did not utter a word. It was introduced in Rajya Sabha today. Again, no word from the Education Minister. Fine, he can say that, he's very new to the charge. He has MOSs, Ministers of State. No word from them either on what is going on in the education system, in the examination system. The Home Minister, who's overseen these brutalities, not a word from them. So it's obvious for the opposition to be asking these questions, to be raising the heat, to demand the resignation of, whether it's the Home Minister or the Education Minister, all of that. It's their job. Whether the Home Minister finds the courage to come to the House and face that question, reply, give an explanation at least on what went on the 20th of July, because the Delhi police reports to him. The Rapid Action Force, in a way, reports to him. So, fine, you may kind of take refuge behind, these administrative and, technical things that, no, the order doesn't come directly from the Home Minister. The Home Minister should not be asked. I heard this thing from Mr. Jitendra Singh, Dr. Jitendra Singh, who moved the bill, the Minister of State for Public Grievances and also the MOS in the Prime Minister's office, who's come into the spotlight during this last 1 week because he was also part of the negotiations with the students. He said the order for firing does not come from the minister, it comes from the judicial magistrate or from the district magistrate. Today, Mr. Brijlal, who's a former DGP of Uttar Pradesh and a BJP MP, made the same statement in the Rajya Sabha that no, Home Ministry is not involved in any way. The order comes from the magistrate. Even if I were to take that at face value, that yes, technically fine, the order may have come. Did the order come? Do we know from anybody in the government? Has anyone from the government come on record to say, here is the order, this is what the magistrate said? Doesn't the government owe that explanation to those kids who were beaten up, to the country, to the parents of those children, to the opposition? So I don't think, this we can keep whether discussing, will the Home Minister answer? Is the opposition doing the right thing? Is the protest all right? Is the washout all right? The basic thing is there any accountability that this government has, even after what we've seen on the 20th? I don't think, the kind of visuals that the country's seen on the 20th of July, those haven't been seen in a long time. Those kind of brutalities. There are still children who are undergoing treatment.
Right, Puneet, but 20th July, this huge crackdown happened, and today is 30th. Almost 10 days are over, and the government is almost looks like it's in a mood to brazen out. They are not ready to reply on this particular issue just by saying that, okay, we'll bring in a law, we'll set up fast track courts, we'll set up a task force. That's the approach of the government. So do you think that they will ever reply, or the parliament session is actually heading for a washout and these protests will continue till the last day?
No, well, you have to go by what's happened over the last couple of days. And there is nothing in the last couple of days or the last 2 days in Parliament to give me the confidence to tell you otherwise, that, the government is going to answer these. No minister, forget the home minister or the prime minister, they have a habit of going absent when there are difficult situations in parliament. The entire state of Manipur burnt. The prime minister and the home minister refused to come and take those questions in parliament. So I don't find it out of the ordinary for the prime minister and the home minister to not be coming to the out. Is it wrong? Certainly. But does it surprise me? I'm sorry. I mean, these things have stopped surprising.
Puneet, one question I'll ask you, and then I'll go to Mr. Sood. That you've been following Parliament, you visit Parliament also. Are Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah actually coming inside the premises of Parliament, or they don't choose to come to the House, but they are visiting the Parliament?
No, well, the Home Minister was there in Parliament a couple of days back. There have been, the great Mangal Milans that they've come up with, exactly. Which were earlier called the NDA yes. floor leaders meetings, which have now been called, rechristened as Mangal Milan. So the Prime Minister comes for the Mangal Milan. It happens every Tuesday. The Home Minister was there. There have been visuals of the Home Ministers, like certain news channels and agencies showing the Home Minister leaving the Parliament premises late in the night, with these fawning captions of how he sat till the end in Parliament and, spoke to the MPs and all of that. You can come to Parliament, speak to the MPs and you're sitting in your chamber. That's not your job. During Parliament session, your job is to come to the House and answer these questions, face the government, the House, the opposition, the questions that are there for you. And that's perhaps what the leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, also pointed out today, that you can keep sitting in your AC room and not, bury your head in the sand that none of this is happening, but it is happening, right?
Right. Okay, so I'll come to Mr. Sood now. What Supreme Court said that you can fire pellet guns in unprecedented situations. And here was a plea which was filed by, this petition was filed by Yashovardhan Azad, the former IPS officer. He's seeking a blanket ban on the pellet guns. And the type of pellet guns were also being discussed. The court was looking at the plastic and the rubber pellets, but Brinda Grover had to intervene specially and explain that the students who are injured, especially that 19-year-old Sahil Lochap, the metallic pellets were fired at, and this is what she specifically spoke about. What is your feeling? And look at the visuals. In fact, Rahul Gandhi had held a press conference that day, bringing in that victim of the pellet gun, and look at the body. The entire body is perforated. You can see the holes, how the pellet gun was fired. So obviously, and he also was almost on the verge of losing his one eye. In fact, Mr. Kharge also said that somebody has lost an hand, somebody has lost an eye, somebody has lost an ear. What would you say to that? And now Supreme Court saying that no, pellet guns are permissible in unprecedented circumstances. So if you look at this particular incident, how would one decide what was precedented and what was unprecedented? Yes, Mr. Sood.
Right. The fact is that Delhi police and RAF have handled this protest extremely badly. They have been, for want of a better word, they have been brutal in using force against the protesters. Most of them who were peaceful protesters. There might have been some protests where they became aggressive, some protesters who may have become aggressive, but mostly the protests remained peaceful. And there's a principle of use of minimum force, which was there in the earlier CRPF and now, CRPC. And now it must also be there in the BNSS somewhere. So that use of minimum force implies that you carry out graded response. Graded response would have meant giving warning, using water cannons, maybe using tear smoke shells, thereafter using firearms. Now, if we take pellet guns to be a part of firearms, the instructions are that they should have been used. They should have been used at the lower limbs, or preferably not to hurt the protesters. And if at all the aim was to hurt, only the lower limbs, maybe the legs, should have been aimed at. That Delhi police or RAF didn't do it is extremely bad. It reflects very badly on their training and on the procedures that they adopt. The orders also are that firearms will be used only on the orders of the magistrate. But then, in such a large protest, where all can the magistrate be present? So it is mostly the local commander who has to take the decision. So the fact remains that Delhi police has used it very badly. Now, coming to the Supreme Court petition, if I were there in place of Mr. Azad, I wouldn't have approached Supreme Court. I would have focused on my force I would have focused on better training and better procedures being adopted by my police force. I would have ensured that they followed the laid down procedure of use of minimum force and of graded response. Supreme Court, in its wisdom, has given whatever order.
No, Mr. Sood, just allow me to interrupt you. Supreme Court is also trying to confuse, it seems. And because the first day said that they need a unified protocol on these protests. Now they have asked the petitioners to amend their petition that you cannot go for a blanket ban. You need to talk about the regulation of the pellet guns. So this kind of flip-flop, I'm not able to understand. Could you explain this? Because continuously the questions are being asked of the Home Minister, Amit Shah, that who ordered the firing. Leader of the opposition is asking. Mallikarjun Kharge is raising that question. Now, this particular observation by the Supreme Court today, obviously the case is still on. And but does it give some sort of an exit window to Amit Shah? The statement which comes in from Supreme Court saying that pellet guns are permissible in unprecedented circumstances. So the Home Minister can always say that, look, this was an unprecedented situation, even though everybody was saying that the protest was very peaceful, there was no violence, but there is a window always for the minister to go back and say that, look, the situation was unprecedented, and which is why the police had to take that call.
My view is that asking Supreme Court to adjudicate on this particular issue is asking them to interfere in day-to-day policing and day-to-day riot control systems. The police has to focus on. I don't connect it with the protection or sort of covering up for Mr. Amit Shah or something. I see it as asking Supreme Court to interfere in their day-to-day functioning. I see it as abdication of the responsibility by the police leadership. They should be more proactive in training their forces. They should ensure that these people, the Jawans on ground, are trained properly.
Isn't it the same
to
situation,
respond.
Mr. Sood? You are right in your own way when you say that actually Supreme Court shouldn't have been approached on this. It's a responsibility of the police officers. It's a similar scenario, where questions are being asked of the Election Commission. Election Commission doesn't do its job, so one has to approach the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court also seems to be lagging behind on issues like election petitions and SIR. The example is still there. So now it's a similar kind of a thing. The police here is not fulfilling its duty. It's not conducting its responsibilities, and one has to approach the court as far as the pellet gun is concerned, because here we have seen how the crackdown has happened on the police. So what does one do in that situation? I'm talking about the petition which is filed by Yashovardhan Azad. Yes, Mr. Sood.
Deviance with the procedure, I think, is odious. Election Commission has been blatantly illegal. Acting illegally in whatever they are doing. In so far as SIR is concerned.
So has the police. So has the police.
Police has not been. So to say, all right, police has been acting illegally, but it has been acting illegally because more because the leadership has abdicated its responsibility. They are not guiding their Jawans properly. The police
No, but
leadership has
right,
to be more proactive. They,
right.
I'm actually very disappointed with the IPS leadership
No, sir. Sir,
that we
the thing
have.
is, Mr. Sood, I'll ask you this question and then I'll move on to Sanjay. That when you say that the leadership has abdicated its responsibility, it's the leadership of the police which reports to Home Minister Amit Shah, whether it is the DCP or whether it is the Police Commissioner of Delhi. Aren't they reporting to Union Home Minister Amit Shah?
Yes,
So
yes.
obviously
So
they will do what they are being directed at.
yes, you're right. By implication, you are correct. Since Delhi police falls under a home ministry, the CRPF falls under home ministry. So obviously, the orders to control the riots have come from home ministry. But
Yes.
those particular orders to fire have come from whom has to be found out. The diary entry that was reported by some portals or some individual reporters also, that says the DCP of the central district, is it,
Yes.
asked the RAF to use pellet guns. So I mean, why should he be asking the RAF to use pellet guns when the protesters were peaceful, apparently
Absolutely.
peaceful? So it is, number one, abdication of responsibility. Number two, extremely poor judgment of the conditions prevailing on ground. We need to rectify our policing system. Of course, the questions about legality, and Supreme Court part has to be taken into consideration.
Right. All right. Let me come to Sanjay towards the last. Sanjay, how do you see the situation now evolving? Of course, there are petitions in the Supreme Court which are trying to bring some sort of an accountability of the police. And as far as the politics is concerned, the opposition has stepped up its heat on Amit Shah, and they are hell-bent that Amit Shah should reply on the police crackdown. So, as far as Amit Shah's reply is concerned, Puneet has very clearly explained that they will try and brazen out. It seems they are in no mood to answer. He comes to the parliament, but he doesn't come to the house. So, where do you see this situation evolving now? Do you see any remotest of chance where probably the Prime Minister or Home Minister Amit Shah might speak? You have to
Happened
unmute,
is
Sanjay.
that,
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yes, what has really happened, Neelu, is that there is a lack of recognition on the part of this government about how the reality has changed. And that is what has happened on the ground. The ground has shifted, but this government refuses to recognize that. And that is where the problem lies. They think that they can brazen it out. It's not so. Did they ever think that the Prime Minister would be, would be ridiculed in the manner that he did by the young people, and they compelling even their parents, who were mostly time and again were repeated. They were parents were followers of the BJP and they were supporters of the Hindutva. They were compelled to change the circumstances. So in a certain way, you find that the BJP is getting everything wrong. They thought they'll brazen it out. They thought they will issue some kind of a stonewall attempts of the opposition to do whatever they wanted to do, and they will ride out whatever. Similarly, the police has been rather inadequate, as a very esteemed panelist has said. They have been inadequate. They did not know how to handle young kids. They use guns. They use pellet guns. How dare they use it? Did you go to Jantar Mantar? If you had gone to Jantar Mantar, you would have realized that they did not deserve this kind of treatment. They were young kids who were sitting there, most courteous, most dignified they were. In fact, if they see somebody as old as I am, they would leave the way and they said, please go. And whatever we can do, they'll try to get you water, whatever. And just see how they're behaving as if they're fighting the army or fighting a terrorist group. So I'm sure there is a great amount of revulsion to whatever the police may have done. It's primarily because of poor leadership. The leadership did not tell them that, look at, this is not something that they should be using. They should not be using guns. They should not be using. In fact, they should be using roses for them, not guns. But they chose to do it the other way. They went after them. And look here where we find ourselves confronted by a government which is totally broken. They don't know what to do. Look at how the Home Minister's hand is shaking, as pointed out by Rahul Gandhi. He doesn't have the courage to come and face the parliament and say that, look at, this is how it happened. He could have detailed the circumstances in which the firing took place. He could have given some explanation, and they have the tactics. They have the so-called toolkit to somehow find a way to get out of this mess, but they are so afraid. They're so afraid of what will stare at them, what will hit them hard. So I am rather concerned about the state of the politics at the moment, state of the government. It's a really broken government, as pointed out by my young friend Mr. Yadav, that you had an anti-leak bill which was being passed, and the education minister didn't have the words, the vocabulary to come and spend time and defend or say anything. Did not do anything at all, which is shameful. Actually, it's a country which is supposed to be literate, and you don't have an educated prime for education minister who can say anything on that. So where are we going? We don't know. It's a very sorry state of affairs. We have challenges that are staring at us from all quarters, from different parts of the world, and we are coming up with solutions which are so dismal, they're so distressing, that we don't know how to go forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we'll have to end the program now. We'll see how long Amit Shah and Prime Minister Modi can evade the parliament. Will they even think of ever replying on this police crackdown? We'll have to wait and watch. Nobody know, in fact, has answers to this question, that how long will Amit Shah continue to evade? How long will Prime Minister Modi not break his silence on the police crackdown? Thank you so much, Mr. Sood, Sanjay, Puneet. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.